Happy ass head, boy. Woo! What's happening? What's happening? This is a woo! Hey. This is a cold war. Do you know what you're fighting for? This is a cold war. Do you know what you're fighting for? This is a cold war. Do you know what you're fighting for? This is a cold war. Do you know what you're fighting for? Vibration. Vibration, vibration, vibration. You fighting for vibration, yo. Listen. Vibration. You fighting for vibration, yo. You know what I'm saying? That's really what a big part of it is. You fighting for vibration. Now follow me on this one because I'm gonna take you outside. I'm gonna take you outside of things. And what really, you know, is really what a lot of this is really about. I'm not gonna say it's all of it, but it really has to do with vibration, yo. It really has to do with vibration because what you gotta understand is what we're doing here is we're working on death, right? So when we're working on death, just naturally, you don't even realize you're doing it, but you're doing it naturally, and that's going to determine whether you, because you know how they say, you know how they say, you don't live right, you don't go to heaven, right? So what that is talking about is, see, people got to understand that this is hell, right? Now there are hellish, they are like hellish like realities after death, but that's all because of your mindset, what you believe in. You know what I'm saying? If you believe you're going to hell and you're going to burn, if you believe that, then that's what your afterlife is going to be. That's what I'm talking about today. It's all about vibration, right? If you grew up all your life believing, oh, you know, if I don't get it right, I'm gonna go to hell. That's you'll burn, yeah. That you'll go to a fiery place until, let's say, until you're basically until you're swallowed up and taken by the demiurge, to where if you can't let go because you're too attached and your vibration ain't right, then you'll get sucked back into, you know, another reality, another earthly reality. That's what happens with most souls. Most souls get reincarnated because they're too attached, too much karmic debt, and they're too attached. So that's the thing. We're on this cycle, this loop of reincarnation. You know, not enough people. The immortal. That's where they say you become immortal. The warriors, the true ones, the ones that become heroes, the ones that do that the ones that put together a great work to where they're able to have a smoother transition, because it's all about vibration, right? So, like for instance, right? So let me get, some of the downloads I've been getting. So let me get to, and I've had this lecture, stored in my brain before. This is one of the ones I was gonna get, but it just was a good time. I feel like it's just a good time to give it because, I ran across that song, that channel hit me the other day. It's a Cold War, yo, because people don't even really know, like, man, people don't even really know what's going on while they have the opportunity of life, and how, I won't say, yeah, it is kind of precious. You know, life is precious, and we shouldn't, we take it too for granted, whether, you know, it's us living, and, you know, other people, they'll be so quick to take a life. You know what I'm saying? When it's like, and it's all balanced, you know, it's good and bad, and that's why you gotta make sure that you have that spirit, yo. You gotta have that, you gotta be one of them dogs, man. Because let me tell you, bro, we working on death, right? And it's a lot of people that they just naturally, yo, people is sad, yo. Like, people don't really understand death, so death is sad to most people because most people don't understand death. Most people don't even realize that, you know, when you're outside of the body, and you have an opportunity to move forward, to move to higher heights, you know what I'm saying? To where you can be free, because this is hell. You know what I'm saying? So this is really death. And when you die, that's really life. That's really your launching pad. So we're working on our launching pad as we go, right? So, for instance, right? And so I'm going to give you an example, and this is going to put this whole video in perspective, right? There was someone that I knew that died, right? And, you know, and see, this is where I come in. This is what I do. And, you know, I'm coming to terms and realizing more and more of, you know, I help people, you know, cross over, whether I knew it or not. You can see, that's the thing. When we go to sleep at night, we're doing work. We're moving into our true form, into our true power, and our higher self is doing work, you know, without even our acknowledgement or our. Cause see, this is me in my lower state. This is Ahmad. This is me in my lower self. This is not my true form as far as, like, you know, my soul is concerned. You know, this is just me in this lifetime or whatever. So when we go to sleep, you know, our higher self is doing this spiritual work, you know, whether we are aware of it or not. And sometimes your higher self will let you peek into what's going on, you know, and sometimes you're in different dimensions doing different things. And, you know, sometimes your soul traveling is vast of what the soul can do, right? So let me just, you know, put out this so that y'all can understand where I'm coming from for the video, right? So there's someone I knew that died, right? And so what happened was I came to in the astral world, in the spirit world, the dream world, the astral world. That's where we connect with, you know, our passed over people, you know, things like that. And so this was someone that I knew, that from around the neighborhood that I used to live in, right? And so what happened was he was stuck. He was stuck in the astral dimension that he was in, right? And it's just basically because he was just too distraught. He was sad, you know. He was just too. And that's the thing. We're working on our energy, right? So he was in this astral plane, in this dimension where his mind took him to, and he was stuck. I don't know, you know. And see, that's the thing, you know, people don't know about altars. People don't know about offerings. Because, see, the thing is, you know, people don't know this, but people are supposed to help you cross over. You know what I'm saying? That's why I think funerals are a thing. You know what I'm saying? You know, things like that. So, you know, just many of things could have been a reason, you know. So people are supposed to set up altars, give passed over people food, drinks, you know, things like that, so that they won't feel so lonely, and like because you could be stuck in that if you don't know how to build your heaven. Because this is what I'm talking about, building your heaven. You know, that astral plane that you go to in the astral after you don't have a body no more. Because see, after you don't have a body no more, now all you doing is now you live in the dream world. That's your launching pad. Your next phase of reality, whatever you come into. So that's your reality, right? And so that's what you're doing basically the whole time you're living, is you're working on your energy. Because let me tell you, right, he was sad to the point to where he couldn't even really move. And that's the thing, he didn't have any energy. That's what setting up altars come in, offering food, drinks, things like that, to where you give the person energy, basically. You know what I'm saying? I remember listening to this lecturer, I forgot what his name was, Yosef Bey, I forgot what his name was, on YouTube, and he was saying how this woman, because he would visit these astral planes, you know what I'm saying, and help out the dead or whatever, because that's the work that we're doing, the ones of the light, and so he was talking about how this woman was in the astral plane and she was just distraught because she couldn't get a drink, and what that told me was there was nobody that had an altar set up for her that could offer her a drink. Because see, that's the thing, you put out things that the passed over person likes, and that it's all to help them make a smoother transition. So if it's nobody's doing that for you, that could kind of make you become lonely, and then your emotions are more, what's the word I'm looking for? More potent, is more of a on that level, because that's the next evolutionary level. So whatever emotion that you're feeling, you're gonna really feel it more than you're feeling it in the regular living life. And so he was sad, and that's one thing too. That's why, going back to the drink, that's why you kind of want to become more independent energetically. That's all I've been teaching. You know what I'm saying? Is how to detach and become more energetically independent, because if you die and you're too sad, you're too holding on, oh man, I never got to go to Jamaica, oh man, my kids, you know what I'm saying? Listen, I'm sorry to say it like this and might sound kind of harsh, but you gotta kind of detach from your funky ass kids too. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that you shouldn't show your kids love and you should just disown your kids, but I'm just saying, in a sense of, you gotta understand you're on your own soul's journey. Your kid, they're their own soul. They have their own journey. They're young. You were young like them too. You know what I'm saying? At one time. And so what I'm saying is, you want to try to become, that's why I say this is a cold war, because all through life, what you're building up is more attachments. And so when you die, if you didn't work on death and that's why I say, man, it's so much that can happen out here. You got to have a strong spirit, yo. You got to have that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, no matter what happened, like, I'm a warrior, and I'm a, you know what I'm saying? I'm a pick up, like, it don't matter what happened. You know what I mean? I'm a pick up, and I'm a carry on with my evolutionary process. You get what I'm saying? Because, like I said, things can happen, yo. You could be sitting in a car, counting your money. Next thing you know, your homie of 15 years, or your homie put a gun in your head, like, man, I need that. You know what I'm saying? And you like, damn, that could have somebody sad on the other side, like fucked up, like, damn, my own friend set me up. Like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, that could have somebody not being able to recover and so I take the example of like the Thriller video, right? So what happened was, and remember in the Thriller video where the zombies are like, so that's what's happening to a lot of souls when they don't have any energy like that. So what happened was, what I noticed was, when I was talking, I forgot really what we was talking about, but I noticed that his voice, it was like, yeah, like he said yeah, but it was like, yeah, like he didn't have any energy, and he couldn't move because he didn't have any energy. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's why I do what I do, yo. That's why I'm walking in this calling that I'm doing, because I've seen the other side. You know what I'm saying? I've seen these higher realities. I've seen, you know what I'm saying, how things look over there. So I know what I'm talking about. That shit fucked me up to the point where it's like, you know, I think about it from time to time, and it's like, damn, like, that's what we're working on. The energy, yo, because that's going out sad. You gotta have that spirit, yo. You gotta always have your spirit no matter what happens. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say this is a cold war. You gotta pay attention to what you're doing, yo. You fuck around and get life in prison, it's hard for a lot of people to shake that. You know what I'm saying? And the older you get, like I say, foolish are the long live, because the older you get, the more you at risk of growing old and sad and depressed. You know what I'm saying? And you carry that over into the afterlife. Now you old and sad and depressed in the afterlife. And then, so what's going to happen is, now, you know, what's happening is, on the reincarnation wheel, what happens is, if you get sucked back in, because see, what was going to happen was, when he was stuck like that in that dimension, he didn't have his arms and legs, he couldn't move, so he was just at his soul state at then. He didn't, you know what I'm saying? It was just like he was just a soul. So what happened was, we built him a ship. You know what I'm saying? We built him a ship. And I Googled this. Now look this up. The soul ship. Look up, you know, soul traveling on ship. You know, what does the ship have to do with the soul? You know, look stuff up like that. And I looked it up, and it's like, that's what it is. Like, the ship, we built him a ship. And I know that's what happened, because, you know, what I did was, I picked him up, because I can fly. I know how to fly, and that's how I always knew how to fly. So that's why I am who I am. You know what I'm saying? Because since I was little, I could always remember flying through the air like a superhero. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm not the only one that know how to do this. I'm sure it's other people we strong. You know what I'm saying? We have certain things that we have to do. Like, you're supposed to be learning how to fly in that reality. After you don't have the body no more, you should know how to fly. You know what I'm saying? Because that's your launching pad. You should be building up your heaven, because I think whatever astral reality we was in might have been like his home or something like that. It looked like it was like his home, because that's where your soul state is. Your soul state is your home. So whatever's home to you, you know, for me, you know, I catch myself sometimes. That's when I know I'm right at my soul state, when I'm at my grandma's house back in St. Stephen, Ahmad Lane, you know, where I grew up in, that's what I know as home to me. You know what I'm saying? And so what was going to happen was, the more he sat there and was sad and just couldn't get it together, and his energy was just draining, what was going to happen was, a storm was going to come, and the demiurge was going to wash him away and suck him back into reincarnation, and he was just going to lose all his memory. And now, see, that's one thing about it. You do lose your memory, and now you born into another baby body, and you're back and you're in the hospital. Like, who are these motherfuckers? You know what I'm saying? Like, shit like that. That's what the reincarnation wheel is. So that's the thing. You're not gonna get. It's more by energy. Remember what I said? Jesus is not gonna save you to the point where he's not gonna pick you up. He laid down the. You can say, "Oh, Jesus saved me," but are you really walking that walk like Christ? You get what I'm saying? Is your energy right to where you can get into those heavenly realms? You know what I'm saying? Because there ain't no stealing in heaven. You can't ride nobody else's wave. It ain't no. It's you and your soul by yourself in the afterlife. Can you get to the chariot? You know what I'm saying? Like I said, you got the water bottle. Oh, Jesus, come save me. Jesus, come give me the water bottle and quench my thirst. No, you actually have to pick up the water bottle and drink it to quench your thirst. You get what I'm saying? And so when it's all about that. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's about energy, yo. Like, because it was him. It was all his mind. It was all his attachments. His, like, man, you know, like, him just can't fathom in the fact that he died. You know what I'm saying? I remember I had a uncle that passed, and he just couldn't get it together. He just couldn't. Every time I went into the dream state and I saw him, he was just distraught, just crying. I don't think he might have not made it. I'm not sure. You know, I'm pretty sure of who I am. I'm pretty sure I helped him out. But going back to, you know, my homie that I used to know, so what happened is, right, so we built him a ship, and this is how I know, because I picked him up and I started flying around with him just to cheer him up, you know, like, yo, look, this is what you gotta kind of get into a zone, into a cheerful zone. But this me not knowing what I was doing when I was building the ship until I researched it. That's why, you know, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. You know, I got the knowledge when I read up on it. The wisdom was that experience that I had with the ship. And then that's what it's like, oh, aha, I understand. So we was building him a ship. And I know it because when I picked him up and I was flying around the reality, and he was laughing, you know. So that was good, because that was cheering him up. I saw all the wood. It was like hella wood, and we was building the ship. It was like a whole team of us out there. We was building the ship, and the ship was coming together. It was looking pretty good. It was like damn near more than halfway done. It looked like an ark. You know what I'm saying? It was a wooden ship. And so what that was going to do was, we was going to put his soul on the ship, and now his soul was going to be able to travel and give him more time so that he could travel through the dimensions. And he's basically traveling his own soul and traveling through the dimensions so that he could remember who he was, so that he could make a transition into the afterlife and get connected with his spirit guides, you know, you can just basically more so go on a trip so that he can detach from the earth reality that he just left, that was so sad, that has him stuck. You get what I'm saying? And so, yes, that's what it basically was. Like, he was going to travel through the dimensions, you know, see all the skies, see basically a soul's journey. It's basically like a cruise through all the different dimensions that is a part of him. You know what I'm saying? Different lifetimes, different. Because basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to find your way back to your tribes. You know what I'm saying? To your cosmic ancestors. You know what I'm saying? But that's the thing. If you're not whole, if you're not in a good energy in your, because whatever astral plane that you're in when you pass, that's why we're working on that now. You want to be able to, that's why you want to set up shop now. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's like, yo, people trying to fuck around and fuck around with what other people got going on. You really want to be trying to build up whatever you got going on, so that when you go out, it's like, basically, like, if I build myself up and I build myself up to be able to live in a mansion, right? That mansion is going to be my launching pad when I pass, right? You're trying to set yourself up like that so things can be a more smoother transition. Y'all remember I talked about it in a previous lecture, in the movie What Dreams May Come, right? The movie What Dreams May Come, Cuba Gooding Jr., he died and he went and lived in his painting. There was a painting on his wall that he loved so much. So you see what I'm saying? His love vibration, his frequency, that painting held so much value to him. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I say it's like whatever's home to you, whatever feels home to you, whatever pulls you on a love vibration is sacred to you. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say home is usually, you know, where you grew up or your childhood, or, you know, if you built a life for yourself to the point where it's your mansion that you live in or your house that you live in that has a love pull to you, to the point where that's your launching pad, because that's your launching pad. When I mean launching pad is when you're in that astral state, and you're going through the different dimensions, and you're in a good zen. You know, you can travel, you can bounce back and forth and come back to your home in that place, because remember, now you're in the dream state. You don't have a body no more, so it's your mind. You're traveling through your mind. But if you don't got no energy, you can't move. Now you're just in your soul state, sad and crying, and you're like, oh, like on Thriller. Oh, you know what I'm saying? And so you're at risk of being sucked back in. And, you know, like, that's the thing. People go through lifetimes and lifetimes and don't even realize that they're you know what I'm saying? And that's just a part of it. That's why these times are like the internet and stuff like that. It's so crucial, because these are most interesting times, because the age of information, you have all the information at your fingertips where you can learn and kind of help cultivate yourself so that you can escape this time, so that you can escape. This is like a nice window for people to escape right now, these times that we're in right now. Because who knows if we go to a state where there is no internet, or there is no, you know, you go back to the Stone Age times, because that's what Earth is. Earth is always in a loop. You know what I'm saying? So we're in interesting times right now, going into the spiritual era. You know what I'm saying? So you have a window that you can make it out and make it to heaven right now, before, you know, whatever, it gets to a loop where there is no, you know what I'm saying? Like, there is no knowledge of what's going on, and you're automatically I'm not gonna lie to you, yo. I wouldn't have learned my spirituality if there wasn't the age of information. If there wasn't YouTube videos that I could look at, and teachers that I found on YouTube, you know, things like that. That's the time we're in. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know somebody that's a mechanic, a good mechanic, and I'm like, yo, how did you learn that? He always say whenever he wanted to learn something, he would go look on YouTube. So we're in the YouTube self-taught days, like the YouTube university of whatever you're trying to get into. So this is what I'm explaining, like spiritual independence, to where, yo, you got to realize that it's on you, your energy. Now, I'm not going to lie. Now, there are people that, you know, they see, when you step into your power, you can either do bad or good. So there are people that have stepped into their power to where they act as like prison guards, to where they're just, how can I say, they're on that certain mental level that they notice is an illusion. And so they're like, they're putting out bad. They're not really being of the light and helping people go to heaven, or, you know, they're just putting out mundane, you know, and a lot of them don't even realize they're doing it, you know what I'm saying? But they're like prison guards, where they're just putting out mundane shit, and, you know, it's nothing, you know, it is what it is. That's why I say it's balance, you know, it's life, you know what I'm saying? So what they're putting out is basically, you know, it'll more so, it'll put the vibration out for most people to get sucked back in and reincarnate. That's why I say most people aren't gonna make it. Most people are always gonna, you know what I'm saying? And that's just a part of the planet. That's the circle of life. You know what I'm saying? It's just a natural thing. So, like someone like me, where I'm coming in, I'm giving you the spiritual tools so that you can shift the perspective, so that you can, you know, look forward to something like that, what I'm talking about, because, you know, because that's why this is what I'm like. I don't care what nobody's talking about. I don't care what nobody's trying to put in my, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? I would have wanted, you know what I'm saying? I would have wanted my homie to have this understanding, but I wasn't really walking in my full strength, walking in my full power to teach these type of things. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, we still helped him out. We still built him that ship. And so we was able to build him the ship. And so the ship, like I said, the ship was going to help him cross over into the afterlife, because what was happening was he was going to get washed away by the demiurge and get sucked back in, and then have a new body, and then have to go through all this shit again, you know? And that's why I say, you know, see, people got to understand, yo, you're not you. The ego, this is not me. This is my ego. This is my lower self. This is who I am in this lifetime. But it's like, you got to understand, you're not you. You're who you are on this earth. You know what I'm saying? So you got to understand that. And so you won't be so attached, so that when you do cross over, it won't be so harsh. Because like I said, when you cross over, you want to be able to, if you're trying to get to the heavenly realms, you have to, in your launching pad, you have to be thinking about, you have to be mentally, your energy got to be reaching out to, that's why you got to start learning yourself now. You got to be reaching out to your cosmic ancestors. You got to be reaching out to, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I'm trying to get on a spaceship. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's who we are. We travel the universe. You have to be trying to get into that vibration. And once you, like the teacher won't appear unless the student is ready. They'll appear once you meet them halfway. You get what I'm saying? You have to be, that's why I be saying get into a higher mind now, so that you can get into that higher mind, so that you can have those type of thoughts and wanting to reach out to your guides, reach out to your ancestors, so that you can find your way back to those realms. You get what I'm saying? And so that was the thing, yo. That's why I say, like, it's all about energy, yo. See, you gotta understand, yo, what like old girl said on the song on Cold War. She was like, because when you step outside, you spend life fighting for your sanity. Like, it's like this world, everybody has a problem. That's why I say, she said, this world was maybe to believe something is wrong with me, and now to have you in lower vibrations. You know what I'm saying? Now, you know, that's why you got to have a higher mind on this thing and understand that it's the physical. You get what I'm saying? And so this whole shit is basically like everything is built to suck your soul back in. So it's naturally the enemy, but you got to know that, or else you're just going to be stuck in the circle of life. You're just going to be stuck in the Garden of Eve, down here with Yaldabaoth, with that jealous God that wants to rule over you. He don't want you to leave out. He wants you to, you know, cry out to him, pray to him, you know. Like I said, that's Yaldabaoth. That's Yaldabaoth. You know, the jealous God, Jehovah. You know what I'm saying? He wants you to, you know, stay stuck in this. He feeds off of that. You know what I'm saying? Him and his crew. You know what I mean? The fallen ones. That's why I said there are fallen ones that help keep the soul sucked in. They act as prison guards. They put out nothing but destruction into the world. And so you never get to really, you really just learn mundane shit. Like, oh man, if I don't got a bad bitch, I ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? Like shit like that. And then when you die, you like, damn, I never had a bad bitch. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, like you gotta have that spirit, yo. You gotta be the king. You know what I'm saying? Like, why I can't, that's the thing, your energy gotta be right. Why I can't be like, yo, I'm the king of the world. I'm heaven. Why I can't be like that without somebody saying, see, he crazy. Give me his money. You know what I'm saying? That's why the lion roars over the jungle. You just naturally, you gotta get that energy. Nobody want to fuck with the big smoke, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm at a point right now, man. There's so much stuff that happened. It's like, it ain't no other choice but not to be scared. It ain't no other choice but to not be. It ain't no other choice but to not be scared and have my energy right. Now, y'all kind of like roll with that and kind of, you know, let your mind flow with that. And, you know, I might do a part 2 on that one. I ain't gonna lie. But y'all can kind of see where I'm going with it. So, you know, y'all know how I always say, take it and let it run with your imagination and add on to what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. It's a cold war, yo. Your energy gotta be right. Peace.